And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV. It's been a long time since we've had this. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective, Steve Kulls, along with my co-host, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Steve, what's going on, man? Let me flip my thing on here. Okay, cam working. Oh, there you are. Hey, buddy.
First time ever, folks. We got Chris Bennett live on camera. And it's so good, my brother. And look, we look alike. We have a little white stubble on our chin. We have the bald heads. And I just want to say hi. The comments are already flowing in, some YouTube and Facebook. Hello, B. And B says hello to Chris Bennett.
Hey, B.
There it is. Hello, Chris Bennett. Also Aaron and Walt.
Aaron,
and Mike A. and Rusty Aldrich. I haven't seen him in a couple of years. Great guy. And you're choppy. Well, I'm sorry. Hey, glad to see Chris is alive and well.
Thank you, Rusty. I'm glad to be here, breathing in and out.
So
appreciate it.
Well, we have been. We've been looking for a platform that can bring this show to the next level. And I think we found it. We actually returned to the video format, which is far superior. Let's face it.
Yeah.
And if people didn't really catch that in my voice, if people didn't catch that in my voice, which I'm really good at hiding it, the old radio show format was getting very tiring to me. I mean, we've been doing it since 2006.
Yeah.
So now it's 2019. We've done that format going on for 13 years. And, even in my personal life, a lot of people know I took a little bump back in February. But, I've stood up, dusted the cobwebs off, and I'm moving full force forward. That's what life's about. How we pick ourselves up.
That's right.
And really, I got to the point at one point, and actually, you know what? Let's bring our guest on. Let's get him on, and let's say hi to Ron. Ron Boles is our guest tonight. Hi, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
How you doing?
And that's the beautiful thing. Here we all are on webcam, and
I'm the one with the hair.
You're right. You still got the stuff on the chin, though. And here we are, three guys. And if you're afraid of the dark, now you're afraid of the light. But
you look much better in the dark.
That's here we go. Why? Yep, I'm gone now. But we don't have a soundboard. That's fine. That was getting kind of annoying to some people, so I'm glad we've gotten rid of that. What I love is now we can show people videos, we can show people pictures and listen to audio of sounds and stuff like that. And heck, I even showed everybody this a little bit earlier in the pre-thing. We can actually look live on websites here, squatchdetective.com. Of course, I'm going to be at the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash next weekend, so there'll be no show next Sunday. And then for those who are local to the Capital District, I'm going to be at the Franklin Alley Social Club on August 1st, talking Squatch and drinking Squatcharitas. $5 Squatcharitas all night long. Squatcharitas.
Oh, and, do a show then, Steve.
Well, like I say, our guest tonight is let me get this. Our guest tonight is Ron Boles, who is not only a great fisherman, loves the water. Do you hunt too, Ron?
I haven't done a lot. My wife don't want me to bring dead stuff in the freezer,
But I did find something out about Ron that a lot of people don't know. Fishing and squatching are not his only hobbies. Apparently, eating is too.
Me and Facebook are going to have a long talk.
So I thought that was kind of fun. have to put something up. As you know, we have a sense of humor, and that's going to keep on keeping on. And but it got to a point where that's why I'm choppy. My mic isn't dropped. It's gotten to the point where oh yeah, that is my halo up there. See? Yeah, I have a big blue aura.
I see that.
Yeah. You know, that's just a light bulb that's on over my head because I'm always full of ideas. And
oh yeah, alrighty.
And of course, B says hello to Ron. So and welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Is that and Mike A noticed, is that supposed to be a halo over Steve?
Yeah.
And
I don't know. It would probably be a red one if that was really a halo, probably.
And you know, I mean, this is the really cool thing about this format. As people comment on the show, we have all the comments lighting up, and that's my good friend Robin Rose. He has been around since the beginning of SquatchDetective.com, and he's from Saskatchewan, Canada. So hope everything is okay up north. Hopefully it's a little cooler up there than it was up in New York. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, the thing that I like best about this format is now we can show photos. Now we can show if there's a new sighting pops up and there's a video, we can show the video here rather than on the old radio version of trying to explain some, well, yes, well, this is what happens in the video.
Yeah.
Now, it's kind of like trying to tell somebody, you know, explain it in words how to tie your shoe. You know, it'd be a lot easier if you could just look at the video of it being done, you know.
Well, you know, you can break down the video and you know, and sort of dissect it. Here's the reason why I think it's valid. Here's the reason why I don't think it's valid.
Right? Exactly.
And the other thing we're going to be doing in a future show, and I'm going to line up some guests for that. And Kimmy DeSorta says, hello from Vermont. So, and you can actually see the where it comes from too. You can see that one comes from Facebook. This one's coming in from YouTube. So it's really, cool. Yeah, it's really a cool system. And if somebody is brave enough, that's right, Aaron. Aaron says we have the technology. But the one thing we can do is we can see all these comments. The only thing we haven't had a comment yet is from Twitter. So if there's somebody out there on Twitter, you know, throw a comment, you know, at, you know, on the live feed on Twitter. And we're doing that via Periscope. So, but you know, we're going to talk about tonight. Oops. We're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. And that's why I particularly wanted to have Ron on tonight. And that is, of course, hashtag stop the lunacy. And that started a lot. Walt, hang on, I gotta show you that one. Walt says the light above Steve's head means he has a good idea. Well, we'll see about that, as we know. But the Stop the Lunacy movement started. I'll explain how. Because I was getting really burned out. I was getting burned out about seeing so much of the stump squatches and not so much the people who have a paranormal experience with a Sasquatch or a supernatural experience. Because I really feel that, you know, I can't invalidate somebody what they saw, what they felt, what they heard. I understand that. I don't want people to misconstrue what the Stop the Lunacy movement is about. Stop the Lunacy movement is about the people who say these are spiritual beings and they're having constant communication with the creatures. They're jumping through portals. They're naming them Zorth or whatever. The people who have these experiences every day, that claim to know them, see them, but don't have any evidence. The people who see them every day and take pictures of them, but they're stumps and they're just stumps from different angles on different days. Sometimes you get a video of nothing but shadows and trees, and they're claiming that these are Sasquatch and they're on every day. and they build up these cult followings, and that's what I call them, a cult following, because they get defended constantly by these people like there is no tomorrow. And of course, the hoaxers, the Rick Dyers of the world, the Cat Hansons of the world. You want to talk about a bunch of cultists? The people that follow Rick Dyer, not so much now because he's kind of out of the picture, and hopefully will remain out of the picture.
That's what I was thinking to say. Who?
Yeah, who?
On our Facebook, we call him "He Who Shall Not Be Named."
Yeah, well, the problem is, and Ron, I appreciate that. It's funny, but we need to keep naming them so it's in the air. Because if we don't name them and we skirt around them, and this is somebody had made a comment about, well, just ignore them. They'll go away. No, they don't go away. They build up their own followings and they get more stronger.
Right.
We have done that for so long and let them be and ignore them. And they have built up tremendous followings where it seems like we're getting outnumbered. But that's not true. There was one person in particular that really started getting angry at the Stop the Lunacy movement. A person by the name of, who uses a Facebook name by the name of Wendy McGee.
Oh, I know with her.
Yep. And her or him or whoever it is, because there's no real picture of that person on the profile at all. And, you know, basically the comment was like, oh, you know, you're ridiculing people. Where has that got you done in 20 years? Well, you know what? I haven't spoken loud enough. I haven't been loud enough. But the funny thing is that we had kicked off the Stop the Lunacy movement with a few memes. And I'm not going to show the memes today. But there was a couple of videos, and I don't know if Chris has seen them quite yet. But they were just everyday little things. Now, I've loaded a couple of them, the more funnier ones, the more tongue-in-cheek ones. There's some that have a real distinctive message to them. The very first one I did, and I'll tell you, I had said, you know, I've had enough of all this. Bigfoot is a primate, and blah, 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 blah. And then a person by the name of Retman Alexander gets on there and starts arguing with me. And this is the problem with the Bigfoot community, is that he was refusing to accept the fact that I had some scientific basis for my beliefs. And he accused me of sounding like the people who believe in woo. And that ticked me off because he was people, and I've said this as part of the Stop the Lunacy movement. Also, Stop the Lunacy movement also goes after the people that, you know, basically, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own fact. And the first thing he said to me, well, there's no primates that have a tapetum lucidum, which is the thing, the mechanism in the eye that reflects the eye light. And guess what? I had to point out that the names of the species that do have a tapetum lucidum that are primates. So then he came back and said, well, there's no great ape that has that. Well, time out. Who says Sasquatch is a great ape? We know it's a primate, but we don't know where it falls off the trunk.
Right.
And, well, then he came up, well, our primatologist, I'm very curious to say, you know, who's our primatologist has confirmed they're diurnal. And that's what the Stop the Lunacy movement wants to fight, is people that make those off the cuff, our primatologist has confirmed. Remember, Ron, exactly. And Ron, remember in 2005, a certain researcher who shall not be named from the Menlo Park area of California.
Oh, Lord.
Calls himself the Godfather.
The good doctor.
No. The Godfather of Bigfoot.
Oh, him. Yes.
Who said, right, 2005, who he said, well, we have scientists examining it.
Yes.
Right? You're entitled to your own opinions, not to your own facts. So that is really huge to me. And we're getting, so let me let me go through some of the comments. Wow. Some people are, hey, and one of our former guests Jeff Stewart says hello.
Go on, Jeff.
Some people at every branch coming back down.
Head first.
And Mike Ann, of course, our good friend Mike Ann says he likes the format. So
Thanks, Mike.
That's the issue, and that's what the stop the lunacy moment is. And Wendy McGee had turned around and says, well, you know, it's very common that the woo folks now outnumber the wood apers.
Oh.
And I turned around and I said to her, well, am I unaware that there was some Bigfoot census? You know, how did you come up with those numbers? You know, I am so in tune with that now, and I'm just, you know, I'm back to my old self again. All of a sudden I got this steam. Uh-oh. Richter Riello. Hello, Richter.
There
up, y'all?
Hi, Amy.
So, a lot of fun. I'm glad I'm able to show the comments in chat. That's awesome. We can share them.
Yeah.
So, I had it. At that point, I had it. I said, well, you know, where did you come up with that number? So she didn't respond. So then I waited about 20 minutes and then I said, crickets? Or crickets chirping or something like that. And then I proceeded to boot her ass. And that's where it belongs.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people making these biological statements about the Sasquatches, they're not based on fact. They're based on theory. I mean, when we have one that hopefully we get one that dies of natural causes that they can take apart and see what, you know, what this does, what that does, you know, how it works, then we'll know some biological facts. But until then, we're just based on opinion. I don't think anybody needs to portray their opinion as fact.
Thank you, Melissa. You let the snark flow through them and only Steve remained. It was cathartic and entertaining. You know, what can you say? And that's part of the whole stop the lunacy movement. Is to fight and combat lunacy. I never said a Sasquatch is nocturnal. I believe they're nocturnal. I believe they have a tapetum lucidum. I can't say for sure, but I have basis for my hypotheses. Now, jumping through a portal, not so much.
Well, I have a firm belief. If you hit one near one with a flashlight at nighttime, you're going to get red eye shine. At least in Kentucky. That's one of my things to do. Ask everybody. You know, well, you know, have you ever seen eye shine? What color was it? And there's a lot of different colors mentioned, but you know. Most predominantly, they're red and orange.
Well, Walt goes through. They're not Sasquatch; they're forest people. And Walt's just trying. Okay. Walt's just trying to get me going. But anyway, in case you have it, and Chris Bennett hasn't seen this video, so I started. I started this video with the whole kickoff of the Stop the Lunacy movement, and I have another live video, and I've been doing these videos live. I have another one coming, but Ron, I don't know if you saw the good old Bigfoot on the roof video.
Oh, I think I saw that. Go ahead.
Well, Chris has it, and you see he's getting a sip of his whatever the hell he's drinking, Dr. Pibb or something. But here is the. Here we go with the start of the really funny meme and really meaningless, but it was kind of fun to watch. So, hang on. We got to we got to change the settings real quick. So allow me to do that.
We have the technology. We just haven't caught up with it yet.
So I thought that was kind of funny doing that. And
the only thing missing there is that you weren't wearing your crotch.
So
that reminds me of one of my favorite Bigfoot video guys on YouTube. Butchie Kid 621.
Oh, yes.
He has some good. He has Bigfoot stealing the motorcycle. Bigfoot's going for the Mexican border or something. It's hilarious. But that looks like his work, but it may not be. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and then there was there was one meme. I'm gonna, as the weeks progress in the show, I'm gonna show some more of the memes that I've been doing, and I did actually a Bigfoot Area 51 meme with the whole starting of Area 51. That was a lot of fun. My favorite, of course, is the Bigfoot, the portal potty. I don't know if anybody saw the portal potty. That was pretty good. Bigfoot flipping everybody off with a porta john under his thing, and I called it the portal potty. That kind of got some. But you got to have fun, because if we don't have fun doing this, we're gonna lose our marbles.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, Steve, though, there are some people, and this is kind of scary in a way. There are some people that will see that video, the Bigfoot roof, and they'll believe it. They'll think, "Oh my God, this is real. There was a Bigfoot on the roof. That dude drop kicked it and knocked it off the roof."
Yep. Ken Tucker, I've been mistaken for Sasquatch while walking in public or piblic. At least he didn't say pubic. I have people blasting recordings of howler monkeys outside my house and taking plastic gas to my shoe prints.
My wife actually bought me a T-shirt and it said, "No, I do not count as a Sasquatch sighting."
and of course, another good one too is, you know how Aaron earlier had said we have the technology. When we had that little blurb, he came up. We almost have the technology. And of course, hello, Ricky. How are you? Of course, Amy. They aren't my primatologists. They're their own primatologists. So yeah, and hello to James. And so we try to get everybody's name up there that's saying hello and stuff like that. We're going to have so much coming up in the future episodes, including we're going to do an episode. Not only are we going to, I'm going to try to get, and I know Richter's out there listening, I'm going to try to get Richter and DEUTSCH on the show together one night, because I would love to get their feelings and stuff about diversity in the Bigfoot community. And what they, I mean, we know what happened with that one particular gentleman, and we'll call him out when time comes. But I would like to see, what other things they've encountered, given their diverse backgrounds.
What's Ron doing? What are you doing, Ron?
Hang on. Hold on a second. We can we have the technology, I think. What does it say? BFRO, yes.
Yes.
Richter knows.
Oh, yeah. He's probably texting you. Richter is such a shit stirrer that, and I didn't download the video he had of me. He called me Uncle Fester. And
he should talk.
Well, yeah, he would be Aunt Fester, actually. And see, I can jab Richter like that because he knows I'm only kidding with him. But the funny thing is that I was on Paranormal Survivor a couple years ago, and the actor that portrayed me, Jack Kenna, who is on Haunted Case Files, actually called that actor. He says he kind of looks like Uncle Fester. So it was kind of funny. Things had come full circle. So, but you got to have a sense of humor. And that's the thing that the people he got involved with that decided to throw out these nasty grams and these words of hatred. They didn't get the jokes. They didn't get that Richter picks on everyone regardless. And I'm cool with that. I'm down with that. If you can't make fun of yourself, you shouldn't be able to make fun of other people. End of story. I don't want to digress from the actual Bigfoot topic. But one of the other fun videos I did was my daydreaming video that I had done in front of the computer. Ron, you know what I'm talking about. And it was just pondering stuff. And this is, you know, these memes are the, you know, it's very apparent to me that Chris has a little problem with some pussy over there.
We had a problem here.
One in custody. So, but we're gonna trust me, folks. We're gonna get serious here in a minute.
I'm waiting.
But here's the other. Whoop, hang on. All right, so here's the other one. Of course, I got to jump over here and do this.
Is this supposed to be audio?
I don't get it. I can't hear it. That's the thing.
No, there's no audio.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's because we're on the back end, Steve, or not, but I don't get the audio for the videos, and I didn't get the audio when the show came on.
Click on the speaker icon over there on the left-hand side to make sure that it's turned up. Now, see, I can't even hear him.
Okay, now you should hear me fine. And
yeah, I got you.
It is possible you guys may not be hearing the audio. You guys may,
I was thinking that is, we had that problem on the other network.
Yeah.
Where everybody in the audience could like see and hear what we were watching, but we couldn't hear it.
Right. So now, if you go now, I'm not sure how this is all going to work, but like I said, that may be the one downfall. But I believe it is getting blasted out to the crew. So, okay, now they're saying no audio for him either, and that was Jeff. We're going to try it one more time, and we'll see what happens, because it worked fine yesterday, so I'm not quite sure what's...
Click on that speaker icon in the bottom left-hand corner. Make sure that the audio is turned on. You didn't hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard you, but the streaming is on a different control panel. So let me ask you folks a question. All you're getting is our voices, correct? So I am not quite sure what's going on with this system. So that could be a very big downfall of this.
Well, oh, I got bigger.
Sure did.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So I have no idea what's going on with that necessarily, which is really a damned shame.
Try again.
Yeah, I mean, I actually did quite a number of test runs last night, and it was streaming the audio. So I'm not quite sure why it's not streaming audio to folks.
Well, I'm surprised we've not. I'm going to knock on wood now, because I'm surprised we've not had more bugs, you know, to work out than what we have. So far, it's been doing pretty good.
Yeah. At least we'll be able to show video. If the sound is working, that's fine. If not, okay, yeah, no audio. Yeah. So that's.
I'm not interested in watching a sighting video of Bigfoot where he's talking anyway, because if he's talking, it's probably not real.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm looking at. I'm doing the same thing that I did yesterday, and my sound goes off when my sound goes off. You can't hear me, so it should be piping in the audio, but for some reason it's not to the live audience. Yeah. It'd be kind of interesting to see the replay if the sound is actually coming in. So not quite sure what's happening there. It all worked. It all worked last night fine.
We got Ron here, man. Let's put him on the hot plate.
Yeah. So, Ron, that's very disconcerting, though. It's kind of ruined the fun a little bit. A little fun.
That's all right. Ron's making up for it now.
Yes, we are. I'm going to have to. I don't think the problem. Just so before I don't think the problem is with the yard stream feed. I think it's a problem with the restream process. So I will contact them and see what's going on with them and why this is not transferring over for that. So anyway, Ron, what's new with you, brother? What do you think of the whole Stop the Lunacy movement? Because you've been front and center for it.
Well, to give people that don't know a little background on me, I've been a BFRO investigator for going on 11 years. I am one of the administrators to the Bigfoot Field Research Researchers Organization Facebook page, established 1995, which currently our membership stands around at 27,000 people. So yeah, needless to say, mine and other, including moneymakers, hands are full when it comes to administrating a Facebook that size. So to see about every type of argument about this, that, and the other about Bigfoot, brother, I think I've dang near seen it all. And when I told you that, for a heath that shall not be named, Mr. Dyer, on the Facebook page, like I said, I co-administer one of the largest, if not the largest, Bigfoot Facebook page in the world. Why would I give that name any attention whatsoever? And as far as I'm concerned, any attention, negative or positive, is more attention than some of these people deserve. And if they die in, there's an old saying that any press is good press. So if they die in by being obsolete, more power to them. And that's always been my point of view. Plus, to say it like Forrest Gump, Mama always said, if you ain't got something nice to say something really stupid.
I think that's right.
And sorry,
Steve.
I was taking care of a little technical difficulty with my headset. So apparently it was left on this morning instead of off. So I had to run and get a cord. So we make sure we have power to this thing.
Well, you're choppy.
So,
but as far as the woo thing, I've been quoted as saying this before. Anytime that there is a mystery that man is not able to, whether it be scientific or whether it be just plain old common sense, explain, then they always go to the supernatural to do it. This has been going on since the dawn of time. Why does the sun rise out of the east and set in the west? Well, that's the path that the god Apollo takes his fiery chariot, from one end to the sky to the other. This is anytime they can't understand or explain a phenomenon, then they gotta interject the supernatural into it. And I'm sorry, to me, with my investigations and my fellow investigators and inside and out of BFRO, to me it is a flesh and blood primate. Do I know what category it is? Of course not. There is no, until, and I hate to say it, and I do not agree with it, but until one's dead on the slab or alive in a cage, there is no way that we are going to be able to detail that in this specific matter. I mean, there's no way we can do that. And quite frankly, I mean, because the science, for one thing, science won't allow it other than those two ways. Yeah. And that's sad because, you know, that's the same type of research that they determine on certain other species to be alive because they had to kill it or cage it. And to me, I find that sad because the modern day science has not, and I use this word, and no pun intended, has not evolved from that way of research and practice.
Yeah,
absolutely correct. Mr. Bennett, questions, comments?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm right along with Ron on that because I think a lot of people they jump to the paranormal explanation too quick. You know, I think they're making a mistake because these creatures can do something superhuman. Doesn't make them supernatural. Because if they can disappear in 3 steps, well, that just means because they're fast. You know, they're faster than a human, so no human could do that. Well, I agree. No human could do that. That doesn't mean that they disappeared into a wormhole.
I've seen a bull elk disappear into the brush like it wasn't even there.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
It's not superhuman. It's a simple matter of nature and being able to do what God gave the ability to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, what do you say? Because I have an idea behind this, and I want to see, you know. But what do you say to a person who says, "Well, it disappeared in front of me"? They have one experience, and they were looking at it, and then it just kind of disappeared in front of them. What do you say to that?
Blink, or did you look to the side?
Yep. I also
they'll say, "Well, I did do that," and I'm like, "That's all it takes."
Yep. Yeah. What I always tell them too is that there's a possibility that they may have been hit with infrasound, because it's theorized that these creatures use infrasound. And when writing What Would Sasquatch Do, when doing research for the book, I came across something very interesting, is that the largest of each species of mammal could have the ability almost to use infrasound. The largest whales, the largest felines, the lions and tigers, the largest canines, elephants, which actually do have their own, all use infrasound, and look at their size. So it's possible because, you know, these are all mammals of different genuses, feline, canine. I don't even know what the whale genus is. I mean, I'm not a zoologist, but it was just as an investigator, not a scientist, I look for these common modalities. So if all these large mammals can do that, why wouldn't the largest primate be able to do it? Primates being mammal.
Actually, the Institute of Dian Fossey, there's a couple. I don't know the researcher's name, but I can find that information out for you. But there is a couple of researchers. I believe it's a man and wife research team that are currently doing a study in Rwanda, or whatever the heck that the name of that country is nowadays, where they're actually doing a study on whether or not mountain gorillas, yes, and do use infrasound. And they find that a mountain gorilla does use infrasound. Then the issue about Bigfoot on whether or not they are able to, I didn't say do it, I said able to, with a moot issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
No Harry Potter cloak invisibility needed. But very true. Yeah, I mean, to me, that is, you know, even if people say, well, you know, I started seeing orbs and it disappeared and I started seeing orbs, all of that, or mind spoke to me, all of that could be a result of infrasound. You know, definitely nothing supernatural or about it. Maybe paranormal. Paranormal being outside the normal, because Bigfoot's not an existing creature or a proven creature yet. So it's kind of paranatural. or paranormal, but it's because it's outside the norm. But supernatural, no, absolutely not, and that is huge to me.
And I mean, if I may, let's clear something up. You brought up infrasound, so we'll go down that rabbit hole.
Absolutely,
infrasound is not a supernatural power.
Not at all.
Infrasound is a proven frequency used by many mammals across the world. Yeah. And it does affect it does affect not only your hearing, but and I did a lot of research on what infrasounds, because I got quote unquote zapped. What infrasound does is this certain frequency, your brain waves from right to left goes back and forth all the time, back and forth in speeds that you could never measure. Okay, what this infrasound does, that frequency, that current, which your whole body is just one big network of current. What it does is it causes this frequency that's going between your right brain and your left brain goes like that. And what that does, that creates an absolute ripple effect across your whole body, which your whole body is just one big network of nerves that carries and conducts electricity, or electric vibes. It will mess with your equilibrium. It will mess with your ability to even catch your breath. It will make a grown 6'3", 255, 75-pound man fit down on his knees. All because of a frequency that will make the go back and forth, do that.
Right. And I'll tell you what, I've been one of the ones that was unlucky enough to be hit by it, and it is kind of weird. I didn't have any weird effects, but just that vibration in the inner ear on one side, and man, it's when everybody asks me about it, I said, well, it's like you've got a hummingbird or something right there ear, and except it's really strong.
Oh, I was actually fortunate to have a microphone strapped to the side of my hat, and I possibly caught something. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's a squatch, but it's sort of funny that right before I went down on my knees, something went, and down I went.
Yeah, man. Well, Ron, now I'm sure there's going to be some people in the night that haven't seen you before. Can you tell us about the first time you had a sighting? Describe that a little bit.
Yeah, because no one's heard it before, seen it on television or radio yet.
Yeah.
No, back in the latter part of the 80s, me, and this is back when I was 20 stupid.
No.
And back when I was 20 stupid, there's an old place in now developed part near James River called the Old Resort. And basically what it was an old hunting lodge that has been long deserted, and the buildings are all but skeleton remain of the structure, but and we're talking good mile away from the main road, but it also had a in-ground swimming pool. Hey, that was a great place to have a kegger and get a bonfire going.
Yeah, and
it was right by James River. I mean, if you wanted to howl by the moon, that was the place. And so me and some other guys, I'd say about 8 of us, we heard that there was going to be a kegger at the Old Resort. So we all climbed up in Scott's Volkswagen van, and we headed over there, and we noticed that no cars was there. I mean, it wasn't late at night. Matter of fact, it wasn't exactly night. It was latter part of June, so we're talking, probably between 8:30, where it was just at dusk, and we went back there, and sure enough, we couldn't see any signs of anybody. So sometimes we've been busted by the county deputies, and sometimes it's just a matter of no one ponied up for a damn keg. So so evidently, no one was there. We checked it out. So we started heading back. Now there was 3 guys that was walking in front of my little group, and there was a couple of guys behind us, and we were probably, I would say anywhere 30 to 50 yards away from each other. And as we were walking down there, say hi to my wife. Oh, who did that?
I didn't do it.
Yep. As we were walking down there, we started getting just overwhelmed with a smell, and I mean, just a real bad funk,
Yeah.
And I mean, to the point that it was nauseating. The group that I was with, see, I'm about 6'3", but the guy that was with us, he was about 6'5", 6'6", and the path that we were on was elevated almost 2 feet above, from the forest floor. So as we were walking along there and smelling that smell, and Gene asked me, "We're on. What is that smell?" I said, "Dude, I don't know, but it's about to make me sick."
Yeah.
And we kept on walking, and then Gene stopped dead in his track, looking over to his right, which was the west of us. And like I said, right it does, so you can still see you couldn't see the sun, but you can still see the sunlight.
Right.
And about, I would say about anywhere between 20 to 30 feet from where we were standing was this huge creature, conical head, broad shoulders, behind a tree that was, really, I mean, about a foot in circumference, and doing this number back at us. And now I couldn't make out. I could make out the broad shoulders. I could even barely make out where the hand had a hold of the tree.
Right.
Really, I couldn't really see. I couldn't really make a facial features. So just to make sure that no one was messing with us, I looked looked to the guys in front of us. Yep, all accounted for. I looked behind us. Yep, they're there too. Well, at that point, Gene says, "I can't handle this." Boom, took off running. Well, being that he was the bigger one out of the bunch of us, I sure the hell wasn't going to stick around. So we took off running, and we didn't stop until we got back to that van. Well, by that time, the other guys who thought, that, we ran into a hornet's nest or something, I don't know, they caught up with us, and we told them what we saw and what happened, what we smelled, and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even back then, I was, rather skeptical. I'm like, okay, maybe what we saw was a cedar tree sort of, waving in the wind. Okay. Mm-hmm. And maybe that smell was someone in a previous party that got sick and upchucked in the, on there. So, foul stench.
Yeah.
So me and another guy, his name was Scott, who also had the keys to the van. We went back, and I knew exactly where it was on the pathway that we were at, because because there was a broken tree branch laying across that trail. Mm-hmm. And we looked. The smell was gone, and there was nothing behind that tree. Now, the reason why I brought up about the pathway being about that pathway being about 2 feet off the ground is because Gene, being that he was 6'6", 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, the big guy.
He was pretty much eye to eye to this thing. We were about approximately 2 feet elevated from the force floor, and this thing was looking at Gene. That would make it were about 8 foot, 8 foot and a half tall.
Between 8 and 9, yeah.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is I asked a primatologist or whatever. I asked them about that back and forth, and they said that's rather common. There's two. I mean, I shared the experience with them, and this is what they fed back to me. The smell, not uncommon amongst primates, especially the great apes, and even baboons, because the thing is, especially amongst the males, because they will emit a hormone or pheromone to let their enemies know that they are inside their bubble.
Right.
They're not welcome. And the swaying back and forth, that's not uncommon amongst great apes and apes, because that's what they do when they get agitated and let you know that they're not. We've all seen, matter of fact, you've seen nature shows when apes and even chimpanzees and stuff like that, when they get agitated, they'll do that swaying back and forth, honestly, after years and years of looking back on that, I honestly think that it was. I think it was playing where it, pay attention to me while something else was going on behind us. I think I honestly believe that it was. What's the word I'm looking for? It was playing. But this smelled like that smelled like fermented puke. That's how bad it smelled. But it was really playing decoy. I mean, I honestly believe that it made itself very well known while its family pod was, retreating back into the blood.
Yeah. I believe you're right, Ron. I bet it was going more or less like, hey, look at me. Look over here.
Yeah.
Look over here. Don't look over there. Look over here.
And that's my thoughts. But anyway, that's my story. That was my first experience. Like I said, I've been doing research with PFRO for 11 years. And I've done I've done other lanes like I've organized expeditions in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. And matter of fact, I got one coming up in the Ozarks in Missouri this October. And I've been on expeditions or part of expeditions. In New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky. I've been around. So, and matter of fact, I just got off about a month ago. I just got back from a expedition in New Mexico up in the Jicarilla Apache reservation, which was beautiful, beautiful country, and got to see people like Shannon Pohl Dennis and Shannon Pohl, and good friends of mine that I haven't seen in a bit. So it was good, and the activity wasn't bad.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so I used to live out there in the area, New Mexico, southwest New Mexico, just below, not too far from Mescalero, and they had the Mescalero Apache tribe up there. Yeah. And it was real interesting. And it's kind of weird, though, out in that area, the New Mexico where you're talking about there, they'll have a desert valley, and then, there's nothing but like sand and brush and, scrub and tumbleweeds. And then as soon as you get to the mountains, man, you got green grass, you got trees,
And that's where
cool running water.
And that's where I was. I was in the north part of New Mexico. I mean, you know, stone throw away from Colorado. Elevation somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Steve, you got your audio back on yet?
Oh yeah, my audio has been on.
Oh, okay. Just waiting for me to shut up.
I'm just sitting there listening. You know, I learned let the guest talk. Less work I have to put in.
Well, that's no problem with me.
You know, I spent a lot of time in the Four Corners area with the late great J.C. Johnson and Leonard Dan, and man, what an experience that was. Not only do they have, you know, Sasquatch, but the Dog Man and Skinwalkers, and just investigating all that stuff is fascinating. And of course, I think they are. I believe. Well, it's hard to say. I mean, I can't call myself a Dog Man expert by any means, or or knowledge on the Dog Man. That's not my bag. What I can say is that I have had some experience with we believe to be the Skinwalker, which was a Skinwalker, which was quite interesting. Can't explain it, and that I would have to say is more on the supernatural side. But as a paranormal investigator, you know, and I'm director of the Extreme Paranormal Encounter Response Team. Have been since I've been an assistant director since 2013. I took over the directorship this year, you know, I am logical enough to separate a couple of things. And I've always said to people, if they have a supernatural Bigfoot experience, it's one of like 4 or 5 things that can be going on. Number one, they saw a Sasquatch and they got hit with infrasound, causing them to do something. 2, they may have had a psychological trauma or a blank out period of time. That can happen. You know, some people, if it's not in your belief system, and Ron, you can relate to this from your sighting. If it's not in your if it's not in your belief system at first, when you see it, your mind almost stutters a bit, and it can act in a number of different ways. Some people flight, like your gentleman, the big guy who ran away. Some guys fight. Some people freeze up. Some people lose time. Some people, you know, have a defense mechanism in their mind to put thoughts in it. Then we have the infrasound theory. Maybe perhaps what they saw wasn't necessarily a Sasquatch, may have been manifesting that because it's in their belief system. So something supernatural did manifest, and it manifested as that. If we want to look at a different type of that. And the 4th and 5th ones are the really ugly ones. And the 4th ones, and I didn't say it the other day in a conversation, but I'm going to say it here. The 4th one is and I'm not saying this to all people. This does not apply universally. You have the other, you know, 3 or 4 explanations I've given, and then we have what's left. You're either lying or you're batshit crazy. So it's got to fall in the realm of one of those things. And I, not being a person too dubious, even though I'm a hoax buster, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. That's what I've always been about. The Stop the Lunacy movement was not to be mean, not to discredit people, but to discredit the cult growers and the people, like I said, that have the everyday sightings amongst all the other things. So I want to make that very clear, because people have been starting, not necessarily all the time, but saying, well, you know, you're trying to discredit people. I try to explain them. No, I'm not about discrediting an individual that has a sighting, even a couple of sightings. But when you start to have them 2-3 times a week over a period of time, and you've got nothing at all to account for that except your word, then we gotta, then there's something amiss.
Well, And there's, a lot of people will bring, well, for one thing, a lot of people will bring up the argument, well, what about the Native Americans and their spiritual attachment to the Bigfoot? Yeah, they do hold the Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or whatever name that specific tribe held in a supernatural realm as a spirit. But you got to remember, so that a lot of Native American tribes holds buffalo in a spiritual
Exactly.
Eagles, bear, coyote, or what have you.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
And I'm not trying to discount or disrespect their beliefs, because God bless them, they've known a hell lot more than I do. But the thing is that here's the thing. Bigfoot, when you have your experience, it is a jagged pill to swallow. You either are able to, you're either able to deal with it or not deal with it.
Exactly.
And in some way, somehow, if you have a mindset where you deal with it in a realistic and where you're still within reality, because hey, folks, you have that Bigfoot experience, it will jack with your sense of reality, because all your life you've been told that this doesn't exist, and bam, it's in your face. It does exist. So therefore, you are going to have that. You're going to have a total different aspect of reality, but don't lose hold of the reality that you already know. Don't try to add to the reality, more to the reality that you're already living in, and that includes Bigfoot. That's my feelings on the matter. When on the expeditions that I organize or I participate on, I don't even like to bring up zapping. I don't like to bring up about eye shine. You know why? Because if you bring that up to all these newbies, bam, all of a sudden everybody got zapped and everybody's seeing eye shine. Keep it basic. Look for the obvious signs, for the physical signs that we all know and love. Okay? Listen for the listen for the vocalizations. Look for the footprints. Keep your eye out for possible hair and stuff. And tree signs. I mean, that's what really, tree signs. I take tree signs with a great big old grain of salt the size of a Volkswagen truck. I mean, a Mack truck. But the thing is, I've seen tree signs. I've seen the teepees, which that were very interesting. Now, did I say 100%? Yes, that was a Bigfoot. See, that's always a big clue to people that that raises an eyebrow, and I begin to doubt. When people start talking in absolutes, that's when I'm going, yeah, you're full of shit.
Yeah,
because there is no absolutes in this vein, other than the absolute that I didn't have my experience. But there are no absolutes in this research. And when you are starting to tell me that this is what they do, this is why they do, and it's the God's gospel that it does happen, then that's when I start questioning you. I mean, when that person says, "Well, my expert told me that it was this chain of the primates." How the hell are you supposed to? How the hell is this expert supposed to know that? Does it have one dead on a slab or alive in a cell? No, it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say that Ron brought up a good thing that's really interesting about the tree signs, and I've seen a lot of those on the internet, little teepees and stacked up, and sometimes stacked up into a decent little shelter, and a lot of times I think those are more from human activity than anything else. But there are some things you can look into that I personally watch for me when I go into it. I look for the break, the twist and the break up in the tree, not something that's
up in the air.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And a brush pile in the middle of the woods. that's made with a chainsaw. You know, all the stuff is broken up. Small tree, maybe 12-foot tall trees, dead trees dragged into a pile. I'll look for stuff like that, and then kind of keep an eye on that area, you know, to see what's going on, if there's any fresh activity or anything like that. But who knows about the tree sign things? There might be more to it. You know, I don't really know what to think about it.
Well,
now,
you know, like I have a video of a TP thing that we found.
Right.
And
Right.
what's funny is that years later, John's wife Winona told me, John Kirk's wife Winona brought up about how usually find these teepees the way that I described it and the way she
Right.
described it, they're a source of water. And I'm like, holy smokes, because there was a spring-fed pond right not too far away. But on the other hand, a friend of mine whose son is very active in the Boy Scouts took some pictures of these shelters that they have to put together to get this certain badge in the Boy Scouts.
Right. Right.
And took pictures of it. Guess what I did? I took these pictures and I put it on the Facebook page and I said, "You want a red circle with this?"
yep.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
Well, you know, that is another part of the Stop the Lunacy movement that I failed to mention was the people that are forever throwing up their entire research surrounds stick structures, glyphs, which aren't glyphs, and gifting, and nothing else. No sightings, no evidence, no nothing. One of my pet peeves are tree bends, you know, and you'll see these bends. Oh, look at this, look at that, look at this. You know, especially if you live in the eastern part of the country.
Yeah.
Tree bends are caused by generally one of two things: ice or something falling on that tree for a while, because for some reason people think a Sasquatch can take a tree and bend it and it stays that way. That doesn't happen. It has to grow that way. It has to be tied down that way for a while. That's why the ice hits it, it bends, and by the time it melts, it doesn't have that. It's already grown into that shape. If a Sasquatch pulls down a branch and lets go of it, it's just going to go right back up.
Boing.
And, boing. And nobody understands that. It's just total hogwash, and it drives me insane. I showed a picture on my or on one of my videos I did, and I happened to mention the magic X in the forest. That's in my backyard. I know a Sasquatch didn't do it, you know. And if you look at it, from another angle, it's not really an X. It's actually like this. But when you take a picture of it, it just looks like they're together, but they're really not. So you have some of that. Without people actually seeing them form these things, how can they even say? But I will say this: you see all these, you know, these stick structures and tree bends, and people have gotten off the real meaning of what to be looking for in plant life.
Right.
And that is, you're looking for tree breaks, but you're looking for tree breaks at the 5'9" to 6'2" level, where something large, a 7-8 foot creature, has walked through and has been breaking branches to go through the brush.
Right. Yeah.
That is just simple tracking. And people have gotten stuck with this other bullshit instead of focusing on real tracking, real science, and real common sense.
Yeah, it always amazes me the same people that say that you know, Bigfoot are the masters of stealth. Okay, then why are they according to you, why are they leaving billboards behind?
Exactly. And they are the master of stealth. And if they're the master of stealth, then then why the crazy explanations of cloaking and shape shifting and portal jumping? You know, makes no sense. what I put up actually, and what people have been looking at is actually some of the stuff we do know about primates and if Sasquatch is a primate. One of the things I've always preached, and a lot of times I haven't been able to show people necessarily this. And if you take a look, we actually have a chart of what an example of primate habitation is, and that's just an example. The circles were placed randomly, and what it is obviously territory, and in human terms, that would be our homes. So when we get aggressive Sasquatch sightings, and I want to go back to Indian lore on that real quick. And you're exactly right. The Native Americans always thought of different other animals, the eagles, the condors, as having spiritual. Everything was spiritual to them. Nature was spirit. Even the elk. Remember the last of the Mohegans, the opening scene. When they cut the elk, they pray to the spirit of the elk. So everything was spiritual to them. Not a bad thing. One of the things that people talk about is, this whole, well, maybe Sasquatch are aggressive, and you have this whole series Missing 411, and there's an issue with that because one of the books I've read on primate behavior, it specifically states that primates of one species are not necessarily aggressive towards primates of another species. Now, there are exceptions. If you think about it, there are some chimps that do eat monkeys. Those are cultural because it's been shown that orangutans and gorillas and chimpanzees have culture. They learn from different pockets, and they have different traits among pockets. There was a picture recently released of an orangutan using a spear to kill a fish, a stick, which stick to like a spear almost. That's something not all orangutans do. Certain chimps will use sticks to go down termite hills and eat the termites.
And they threw a hairy fit. See, they're using tools.
Right. Very rudimentary, but they're cultural differences. So I guess my point is that if a Sasquatch exists, it should show some similar habits of primates because it is a primate. Right. And it does. It gets aggressive in territories. The Native Americans always had these tales of a Sasquatch grabbing the children or grabbing the women. Now I'm gonna and talking with some archaeologists and some anthropologists about this. Look at it as this. Everybody has a story of a cemetery where the couple pulls into the cemetery and they're making out, and all of a sudden they hear tap, 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 tap on the roof of the car. And they look up and there's blood. Right? Everybody has that story about a local cemetery. The moral of that story is that young couples, teenage couples should not be going into a graveyard to make out because that leads to other things, obviously. Well, the Sasquatch stealing the children and the squaws was an urban legend made so the children and women don't go wandering out in the forest on their own. Simple as that. That's why, and not being, up on anthropology and sociology, people can very misconstrue that and say, you see the Native Americans, that happened to them. But it's an urban legend.
Yeah, who was the number one culprit of missing women and children? Other Native American tribes.
Exactly. And that's the reason why that urban legend of the Sasquatch doing it came out, because the Sasquatch is mean and ugly. And think about it. How many human beings, when we tell them, well, women, they should carry, pepper spray or a whistle or right? But what's 90% of Americans or 90% of a particular, when you tell them that, what's them? Not me, not me, not me. So that's why those legends are created, because it makes you a little scared of it. Because people, let's face it, people feel they can talk themselves out of anything. If anybody's ever watched the first 48, you have all these murderers walk in trying to talk themselves out of, the cops, the cops what they have for evidence. So it doesn't necessarily work. But you can expect aggressive behavior in the territory. So one of the things I did is I developed a plan of attack, and we want to get close to their territories. But what is a Sasquatch's defense? Evasiveness. If you start invading their territory, they're just going to move on. So the whole goal of it was to find these aggressive encounters where people are getting escorted out, getting screamed at, getting bluff charged. And if they're credible enough, start plotting them, and you start noticing these little pockets where this happens. So around that area will be a territory, a home range. And for human beings, that's where we go to and fro in the course of a day. And there's a subdivision called the core area. Like that would be, like for me, that would be my core area would be right up the road out in front of my house, because, you know, in order for me to get out to wherever I want to go, I got to go that way. That would be a core area. And then you have activity areas, and your behavior in the activity areas are based upon what kind of activity you have. And if you think of it in human sense, you know, activity, you know, foci area, activity areas would be your supermarkets, malls, schools, places of employment. And when you go to a mall or a place of employment or a movie theater, there isn't much friction. But if somebody goes to a school that doesn't belong in that school, what happens? You get a slightly different reaction.
Right.
You know, so that kind of behavior depends on what the actual activity is. We have focused away, and although this is a criticism of the class system we currently use in the Bigfoot community, we class A, which is visual sighting, visual sighting. Class B, oh, we heard it. Class C, oh, we have a track. It sounds to me like that's modeled, and rightfully so, when we didn't think about this a long time ago. It's modeled after what? The UFO classification system. If you think about it, close encounter of the first kind is visual sighting. Close encounter of the second kind is this. Close encounter of the third kind is that.
Yeah.
But now there's a close encounter of the fourth kind, which is the contactee stuff. It all sounds very similar. It's based on observation instead of behavior.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wrong way to classify sightings, because if you have somebody that has a very aggressive escort out of an area but never sees it, but it's, you know, they may catch a glimpse of it, but it's not an actual front-on sighting, where we may classify it as a Class B. To me, that has more relevance than somebody seeing it running across the road, because a road crossing is a home range activity. What is your chances of recidivism on a home range thing? Low.
Right.
On a territorial thing, your chances of recidivism is higher. So it becomes very crucial.
Steve, I can see the validity of your point, but you got to remember, such as like embrace the woo. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, the thing is though. You got to remember, like a website like BFRO, where we do have Class A, Class B, and Class C. This is for the general John Q public. It took me almost 5 years. Don't egg them on, Steve. But it took 5 years for me to start looking from what they were doing, and start thinking about what they were doing. Sort of like the Georgia webcam, where the police officer was, had the webcam, had his dash cam on, and one ran across the road. Yeah. Well, okay, what? Off the record. What would happen? I mean, we got to figure out. Okay, so a Bigfoot ran across the road. And for John Q. public, a Bigfoot ran across the road. Now, a person such as yourself, Steve, and Chris, and ones, that's when we start thinking, okay, why did it cross the road? And that's the reason why I went in there and I played that video.
But Ron, that is it.
I saw the roadkill that it ran from.
But Ron, that's the easiest question in the world. It's to get to the other side.
Okay, best argument you can come up with. No. I really appreciate the example of primate habitation.
Right, and I'm not saying that that classification system is wrong. I think,
like I said, you got to remember this is for the John Q. public.
Yeah,
saying they're ignorant, but this is Squatch 101. When they want to start going in to get their bachelor's degree and their master's and their doctorate, then that's when you start exploring. I mean, I'm still working on my master's degree, so I mean, I don't say I got bachelor's, but the thing is, for the person that's just website browsing and say, ooh, there it is. And like,
they want the visual sightings. Yeah, I get that.
Well, that's something. If you have the sighting and you're determined to investigate it, that's the first thing you got to do. You got to go back to where it was at and try to figure out. Okay,
and that
like Ron said, what was it doing here? Are there any blackberry bushes around? Is there some water around, or is there a dead deer over there?
Right, and that is all valid, and you should, as a researcher, go out there in the daytime to see what you can find as far as trace evidence and some corroborative evidence. I'm not saying you throw them away, but would I go and stake out that particular area? No, because the chances is it just passed through. That was it. That's all you see. Their behavior in that area shows that it's a home range activity. It's when they get testy, that's the areas as researchers we need to say, wait a minute, there's a reason why they're getting testy. There's a reason why. And that's where, not necessarily to invade that territory, I'm a firm believer in hello, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
I'm a firm believer in, getting close enough, and that their curiosity, because all primates are curious.
Yes.
We hear a boom, we all go look to where the boom is. So we outwit them. We are definitely, obviously, we are smarter than them, but we're letting them outsmart us by not using this thing.
No, out there in the woods, Steve, they're the smart ones. They're sharper than we are.
No, they're more acclimated to their environment.
Exactly.
Right, but they're not smarter.
Yeah.
We have let ourselves believe that they're smarter than us, so we're not outsmarting them. And why in 2011 did I get a number of recordings in my base camp when I wasn't even in my base camp? Because I kind of outsmarted it. Autumn Williams, very smart woman, a long time ago, and she's retired from the squatching game. Very long time ago, told me, if you want to get that evidence, you have to make them think they're in control.
Yep.
Right.
And from that aspect, and I credit her with making me think along that line. From that aspect, and it's worked very successfully. While you guys talk it out, I'm gonna pull something else up out of a file that I haven't, that a lot of people haven't necessarily seen. Usually when they see my lectures, they get some of this stuff, but I just need to pull this up. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll give you an example. What I mean by this is one of the this was one of the investigations on that's posted on BFRO that Larry Newman and I investigated, where some fishermen were they were coming into just into town, a small little town, and they noticed, you know, this Squatch, or this alleged Squatch, dumpster diving. Okay, and I thought, and it was awfully close to this little town, and my first reaction is that this thing was a rogue Squatch. Okay, but being so close. And as they pulled in to see what this thing was in the dumpster, the thing get out. At first, it was walking on all fours. As they got closer to it, it got up on its hind legs and started and looked back at them, and you know, and that was it. So we talked to the driver, and then we talked to one of the passengers. And the passenger, and I asked the passenger, so the hair, I mean, you saw the hair pretty good in the back of it, and. So would you care to describe it? Was it what color was, what condition it was, and stuff like that? And they said, you know, reddish brown hair, long. And I said, was it all matty and dirty, or what? And he goes, oh no, that was one thing that sort of struck me peculiar, was how clean and how clean and kept it was. And I leaned over to Larry, and I said, well, that blows my rogue Squatch theory all to hell. Yep. Now, I'm going to ask you two, why did that blow my my rogue Squatch theory to hell? By just what that guy told me.
I don't think he would be clean. I think he would be nasty and dirty.
Yeah.
And probably stink.
It was groomed. I don't care how long your arms are. There's no way you're going to be able to groom hair on the back, on your back, and make it all clean and untangled and you know, and stick and what have you free. It was groomed.
Yeah.
And if it was groomed, that means that it was part of a family.
Exactly. Yeah. He's got a family member back there doing this number. And maybe picking out little bugs.
And that's the thing that, as Steve said, you got to start looking at as an investigator. It's maybe a little hard for John Q. Public, but as an investigator or someone that is, you know, taking their time and effort, that's the stuff that you got to start thinking of. You can't think about what they're doing. You got to think about why.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And
what we're looking at here.
Well, what we have is a still shot from a series of flare shots, and this is a remote spot among, well, not so remote, but what it is a shoreline of the Poultney River, and behind that is probably a good 40-foot crevasse with just very steep rocks at probably like a 60-degree angle. It's pretty steep.
Okay.
And it's a wooded area to the shoreline.
Right.
And it's an area where probably 3 miles or 2 miles to the left of that, there's a road that's on the top of that crevasse. It's a dirt road that goes back to a Vermont game preserve and something called the Gaelic Farm. And back in the 60s, the Gaelics, the whole entire family had reported that for a long time they were being deluged with Sasquatch, including going up on their porch, banging around their doors and stuff like that. Very similar to what the Fords were going through in Fouke, Arkansas, you know, aka the Legend of Boggy Creek. Yeah, so we take the team up one night, and I know this area that kind of juts out that we can get a real good look at the shoreline at an elevated angle from from the east to the west. The Poultney River, if you follow that out, goes around, wraps around left, goes into something called Carver's Falls, and passes nearby Bear Road. And these are all areas in the Whitehall area where all these classic sightings had occurred back in the 70s, 80s, and to this day. Across the river is an area where I've investigated a sighting back in 2003, and where Dan Gordon The second police officer to have an encounter in Whitehall had his running across Route 22 near the town highway garage. So we take the team out and we pull them out onto this overpass. We light up the FLIR, and sure enough, we catch. Now, with the naked eye, you can't see anything. It's pitch black. There's no light source, nothing out there.
Right.
We pull up the FLIR, and we have this very large upright object walking from the right to the left, and then eventually it will move a little further to the left. And I don't know if this shows up on the screen, but it does. It pulls up into about here, and then you see it disappear into the tree line, and it's gone.
Oh, it went into the portal.
Yeah, or the portal.
Yeah.
But or the portal potty if it had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
but it started about here, and it just kind of it went. And we were all stunned because, we pull the FLIR down and we looking, can't hear nothing, can't see nothing. Nobody in their right mind would be wandering around down there without a light because it's pitch black. So we took the team up on the road and tried to intercept it, maybe, but we had no results after that. That was the last we saw of it. But very curious. It was very upright. And we went up on there, and after a while we said, "Hey, hello, is somebody out here?" And nobody answered. That's the kind of stuff.
area at the tree line there behind it is like about a 60-degree bank, goes uphill, right?
It's all rock. Yeah, I went back the next morning because I wasn't going to do that at night, and I was like, "Oh, this is the shoreline. Let me see if I can find some tracks." Well, the thing is that the Poultney River curves this way behind the tree line, but it has a canal that goes the other way. And over here is where, eventually you run into Whitehall Harbor. So you have and on the other side, which is down here going in this direction, it goes to something called North Bay. And then that eventually leads to Lake Champlain. So what happens is you get a lot of boats that come through, and the wakes of those boats wiped out anything along the shoreline by the time I got to it the next morning. But literally, it took me a good 15 to 20 minutes, very carefully and gingerly, because there's nothing but rock there. I mean, so, it would be very easy to roll an ankle, break an ankle, snap a leg. Not to mention that the preserve that's up down the road this way from that has one of the highest concentration of rattlesnakes in Vermont. And
we love rattlesnakes.
And there's even warning signs. So where do snakes love to hide? Between rocks and in rocks. So I'm going down this thing, going, I don't want to run into a snake, especially a rattler. It's kind of funny because probably about a half mile, 3/4 of a mile from there, on the other side of the bank, there is another area where a Sasquatch was reported sighting back in the 70s. We were out there one day, and I actually saw a 12-foot corn snake. It made me jump. It was like, holy, what the heck? Because all of a sudden it just shot across the little path. And it was the biggest snake I'd ever seen in the wild. I mean, it was 12 feet long. It just kept on going. I'm like, what the? Hey, stay back. I wasn't sure what it was at first, but it was a corn snake. And it wanted nothing to do with us. And then, not to mention in the water, there's also water moccasins as well. And, so and I actually ran into a water moccasin back in 2003 while investigating the sighting that was over on this side of the bank. And I remember I was taking a stick, and the moccasin was, hitting the stick. And I was like, and my buddy of mine was like, "Oh, keep doing it, keep irritating the snake."
Especially a water moccasin, because they're very well known for their calm and sweet nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I hope there's not snake people out there, because I'm sorry, I am death incarnate on snakes. I've never seen a snake that I didn't want to kill.
Yeah. But we're getting towards the end of the night, and You know, Ron, do you have any final comments for the folks out there as we start to wrap up a little bit?
Well, basically what I've said before. If you have the opportunity and the good fortune of, and of course that's open for interpretation, but if you have the good to actually have an experience with a Bigfoot, it will change your reality. Like I said, I mean, it doesn't matter. Well, I believe they're real. Hey, you just went from believer to knower. Okay? It will mess with your sense of reality because you were forever told that this is not real. This is outside of your circle of what reality is. And to have an experience like that will mess with it. My first experience, it for years and still a little bit, it messed with my dreams. I mean, you know, I would have every time something came up in my life that I was unsure of the future or the unknown, Bigfoot would enter in there, and I would go through that same damn forest trail, and these things would be hiding behind the trees. It will mess with your sense of reality, but don't lose your grasp of the reality that you're in today. Add Bigfoot into it. Don't let it take control over it. Don't let your imagination take control of your sense of reality.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
You know,
word. Preach it, Ron. Preach it.
Hey.
You know, Kenny asked me if the area we're talking about was a dairy farm. It's not now. Now it's a nature conservancy. I'm not sure, but it may have been a dairy farm back in the 60s, but I'm not sure on that. I'll have to check that out.
And there's something we've got to realize about Bigfoot. These things aren't sheep. They are not like deer. They have their own personalities. To say, well, I saw a Bigfoot do this, therefore all Bigfoots do that. No.
Culture.
It's not true.
Culture.
It's how they were. Yes, it was the terrain that they were raised in. It was how mommy and daddy Squatch raised them to do certain things.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and it, you know, and quite frankly, it could be just one that just is hateful and cantankerous, or kind and gentle. They are not sheep. And the second thing is when like your circles there, I've always said, and I've been quoted to say many a times, our ideal of home is 20 just to throw out a number, is 28,000 square feet. Okay, I say a house that's home to us, 2,800 square feet. Their ideal home is 28,000 square miles.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's so hard to say that, you know, well, the Squatches do this because of that. Here's the only things that you need to count on, and this is the reason why. And here's the reason why you got to count on it. They need a water source, they need a food source, and they need a terrain that will provide them adequate shelter. That is the only thing that I will say 100% is. These are the only three things that I will say is 100% absolute in the Bigfoot world. You know why? Because that's what every God-given creature in this that lives on land needs to.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Ron, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and being our first guest on Squatch-D TV, the reinvented version on this new platform.
Oh, no problem. Kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And many, you know, this is just awesome. We can look at stuff and talk about it. All right, the sound thing. I know how to get the sound out of this thing now.
Good.
And I realized what I did yesterday, and what it was the sound was emanating from my speakers. I didn't have my headset, and what the sound coming out of the speakers caught the microphone. So now we know how to do it. So we'll have sound.
Okay.
We'll have sound free, and next. In fact, we're going to go out with sound tonight too when we're in the show. So
before you go, got a plug. Be sure and check out bfro.net. And if you're interested in going out in the woods with some good people, be sure and check out our expeditions.
Good deal. Thank you, Ron.
Absolutely. So there we go.
Thank you.
Perfect. Oh man, I used to do that. Now, Steve, you got to do it now.
Yeah, but you
type in the web links and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Now it doesn't go into the chat; it goes right onto the screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Perfect.
whereas in the radio days, we could just say it, and if you're just listening, you just heard it. Now you're hearing it and seeing it, and of course, replays of the show or anywhere you've seen it live, plus Facebook.com/Squatch-D TV. Once I share it over there, it's also going to be on my fan pages. It's Facebook.com/Squatch Detective, and of course, eventually we'll have that stream going on SquatchDetective.com. We're going to turn around and repost that there tonight. We have so much going on the next coming weeks. So many show ideas. This platform changes the game. We're going to be talking. We're going to do, and I'm working on guests for that show too. We're going to do the Bigfoot cold case, where I am going to do my presentation live on TV from the infamous book, The Creature by Jan Clement.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Not only have we figured out who Jan Clement really is, sometimes it's nice to be a private investigator and pull out a few stops that some people can't. But we're gonna come to a summation whether the book has merit or not. And very, very interesting stuff. So I'm going to try to get some guests on for that show. Of course, I'd like to have Richter on whenever he's, in and out of the place, and we'll get him on with DEUTSCH, and we'll talk about diversity in the Bigfoot community. Plus, we're going to go over a bunch of other stuff. And what else we got going on? We got so much to talk about, so many things. I'm going to do a show on the Vermont trail cam photo. And
a Naked and Afraid episode?
Hey, if anybody sees me naked, they're going to be afraid. That's the night. That's the night I have to do that. Yeah, and it's been a long time because Chris and I used to do Squatch Detective Radio in the nude. People. We actually had to put clothes on for the show tonight.
What the
hell? Chris is like wincing. I went to the doctor a couple of weeks ago. And I said, Doc, every morning I get up, I look in the mirror, I want to throw up. What's the matter with me? He says, I don't know, but your eyesight's perfect. But anyway, I'll be at the Blue Room all week. Try the chicken. But anyway, we're going to try to go out with sound tonight and on a video. And just for fun, before we go, yes, put that yes up there. Just for fun, let me try doing a couple of things real quick and see if we can't play that last video. And Chris, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, I can't.
Now we just need Steve to put maybe.
Ron's yes, I'm no, and Steve's maybe.
Upside down, Bubba.
I know. So the signs are flying. So let's try this video real quick, see if we can hear it, and let's just try this one more time.
You're a dog.
It's not my dog.
Yeah, that's mine.
Sorry, Steve. Still ain't hearing it. He's gonna be
Still can't hear it. No.
He's going to end the show cussing. That's what's going to happen. He's saying something.
Again?
Cartoon.
All right, here we go.
Hanna-Barbera's Great Ape. I mean, it's big like a Sasquatch, but it is purple. Oh, this is Great Ape. And what does Sasquatch do for fun? I mean, they play Chuck the Woodchuck. So many things. So many considerations.
We got it that time, Steve.
Congratulations.
Holy crap! How the hell we do this?
I don't know. You got it. You got it.
So yeah, I just I still don't have it. There we go. There we go. So okay, so we got it figured out now. So you know, is this kind of a glitch because I thought the sound was actually getting piped in through what it's supposed to be, and that is actually not a yard stream problem. That's the restream problem. When we had a yard stream, if I didn't do it with restream, we wouldn't be able to simulcast to everybody on the free platforms. So I chose to do it this way. Otherwise, we would have just been on the Squatch Detective TV page, and that's it. And then I would have had to try to download that and upload it to YouTube, and it would have been a big cabal. But this works out a lot well. But so we're going to end the show with sound, folks. I want to thank everybody for coming in tonight, and thank you again, Ron, for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
My pleasure.
Chris
Thanks,
Bennett,
Ron.
you've actually proven to people tonight that you're not just a computer-generated voice that I did.
I'm real.
So we're gonna go out with some sound tonight, and then we'll be back at you in if not 2 weeks, we'll be back at you in 2 weeks unless otherwise. So everybody have a great week. God bless, and keep on squatching, folks. We'll catch you all in a couple of weeks. I used to give out the URL, but there's so many damned URLs. Well, we'll see you next week on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.